From a boy emperor forced to abandon China's throne, to a hoax that fooled science for decades. The Titanic sinks. Oreos are born. A war ignites in the Balkans, and the deadliest typhoon in Asia's history. In this episode, we uncover 10 buried stories from 1912. Moments of wonder, disaster, and deception that changed the world forever. Let's step back in time to the first great idea of 1912. January 6, 1912. In a chilly lecture hall in Frankfurt, a young German scientist stood before his peers with a theory that seemed absurd. The continents themselves were drifting. He called it continental drift, an idea that the Earth's landmasses were once joined, then slowly torn apart over millions of years. To many in the audience, it sounded like fantasy. How could continents move? The Earth was fixed, unchanging. They laughed at the very thought. Yet Wegener persisted. He pointed to the matching fossils on distant shores, the mirrored mountain ranges across oceans, clues etched deep in the Earth itself. Still, most scientists dismissed him. To them, Wegener was a dreamer, not a geologist. His theory would remain ridiculed for decades. But history would vindicate him. Half a century later, continental drift became the foundation of modern geology. And while Wegener's idea was dismissed in Germany, across the world, a 6-year-old emperor faced a far greater rejection, the end of a dynasty.
My dear brother, today the Son of Heaven is but a child, and yet he lays down the dragon throne.
On the 12th of February morning in 1912, 6-year-old Puyi sat in the Forbidden City, unaware that he would soon be the last emperor of a 2,000-year-old dynasty. The once mighty Qing dynasty was crumbling. Revolutionary forces demanded reform, and the boy emperor's abdication became inevitable. Outside the palace walls, revolutionaries stirred, while the world watched a child become history's symbol of change. The edict was read aloud. Puyi, too young to fully comprehend, signed with trembling fingers, ending imperial rule in China. In that hall, centuries of emperors ended. The dragons of China's past bowed to a new dawn of republic and revolution. History was silent for a heartbeat. Before the world outside would erupt into new conflicts and change. And while the last emperor bowed, across Europe, a Balkan powder keg was ready to ignite. A war that would reshape the continent.
Montenegro has declared war on the Ottoman Empire. All units, mobilize immediately.
On October 8, 1912, Montenegro fired the first shots of what would become the First Balkan War, challenging the centuries-old Ottoman Empire. The Balkans were a powder keg, and Montenegro's bold action ignited a conflict that would engulf the region. Both sides moved quickly, understanding that control of the mountains would decide the war's opening days. The air was thick with anticipation as young nations tested their strength and old empires struggled to hold on. The first shots were only the beginning, a chain reaction that would lead to an entire region engulfed in war. Montenegro's defiance marked the spark that would ignite the First Balkan War, a prelude to upheaval across Europe. While Europe braced for war, across the Atlantic, the American people prepared for a political storm of their own.
Polling stations open. citizens prepare to cast their votes in a historic election.
November 5th, 1912. America braced for an election unlike any other. 4 years after a bitter split, the nation faced a choice that would shape its future. Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat from New Jersey, campaigned on a platform of reform and progressivism, promising a new vision for America. The Republican vote was split. Incumbent William Taft faced former President Theodore Roosevelt, running under the Progressive Party, paving the way for Wilson's decisive victory. As the results poured in, it became clear. Wilson had won the presidency, a triumph of progressive ideals and political strategy. The people had spoken, and a new era dawned in the United States, one that would see progressivism rise as a guiding force in politics. November 5th marked not just the election of a man, but a turning point for American democracy and the balance of political power. While America celebrated democracy, in the Balkans, a new nation prepared to declare itself free.
Albania has declared independence from the Ottoman Empire. Citizens rallied to raise the national flag.
November 28th, 1912. After centuries under Ottoman rule, Albania's leaders gathered in Vlora to declare independence and raise a new flag for their nation. The air was thick with excitement and tension as local leaders signed the declaration, daring to defy an empire. The Ottoman presence was already fading, but the moment symbolized centuries of resistance and the promise of a free nation. Flags rose along the streets, red with the black double-headed eagle, marking the birth of a nation finally free from centuries of rule. The streets filled with celebration, but the leaders knew challenges awaited. Securing borders and recognition from the world would be the next fight. Albania had taken its first steps as a nation. Its independence would inspire hope across a volatile Balkan region, a small spark with global consequences. While nations fought and freedom was claimed in Europe, innovation quietly stirred across the Atlantic, the snack that would become a global sensation. Before we go to the next event, if you've made it this far, give us a like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which moment from 1912 surprised you most.
Nabisco introduces a new treat today, the Oreo cookie, a sweet innovation destined to travel the world.
March 6th, 1912. In an unassuming factory in the United States, a small innovation would change snack history forever. The Oreo cookie was born. Precision and care defined the process. Each cookie was pressed, filled with sweet creme, and baked to perfection. The Oreo's simple yet perfect design would soon make it an instant favorite, bridging generations and countries alike. Across the bakery, workers moved in synchronized rhythm, a testament to industrial efficiency and human skill combined. From the first batch, it was clear that this small chocolate and cream sandwich would travel far beyond the factory walls. And so, what began in a modest American factory would eventually become one of the most iconic treats of the 20th century and beyond. But while sweets and innovations delighted Americans, tragedy loomed across the Atlantic. A ship of dreams sailed into history's most infamous disaster. On the night of April 14th, 1912, the RMS Titanic, the world's largest and most luxurious ship, sailed through the icy waters of the North Atlantic, unaware that history awaited. The ship boasted opulent interiors, grand staircases, and the finest amenities of the era, a floating palace of engineering marvel. Late that night, disaster struck. The Titanic collided with an iceberg, puncturing the hull and sealing the fate of over 1,500 souls. Panic spread across the decks as passengers scrambled for lifeboats, while the ship's band famously played on, providing a haunting soundtrack to the tragedy. As the hours passed, the Titanic slowly sank into the freezing waters, a somber testament to human ambition and hubris. The morning of April 15th revealed the full scope of the tragedy. Over 1,500 lives lost, leaving the world stunned and reshaping maritime safety forever. While the Atlantic mourned, in the frozen wilderness of Siberia, another tragedy unfolded: the Lena Goldfields Massacre.
Attention units, hold the line. Propans are ready. Weapons ready! Fire!
April 17th, 1912. Deep in Siberia's Lena River goldfields, miners gathered to protest brutal working conditions under Tsarist rule. Tsarist troops surrounded the workers, their rifles glinting in the pale morning light, as tension mounted to a deadly climax. Without warning, gunfire erupted. Chaos erupted as hundreds of workers fell under the soldiers' bullets. By the time the firing ceased, nearly 500 workers had been killed or wounded, leaving a scar on the region and igniting outrage across Russia. The tragedy exposed the brutal realities of labor exploitation under the Tsarist regime, fueling strikes and revolutionary sentiment across Siberia. April 17th would be remembered as a day of sorrow and injustice, a grim chapter in Siberia's labor history. As Siberia mourned, a natural disaster of unimaginable scale struck the coasts of southeastern China, leaving tens of thousands dead in its wake. On August 29th, 1912, southeastern China faced one of the deadliest storms of the decade, a typhoon that would claim tens of thousands of lives. Winds roared and waves crashed, sweeping away homes and leaving the landscape unrecognizable. Boats and cargo along the coast were torn from their moorings, tossed like toys in the unforgiving waters. Villagers fled to higher ground, carrying what little they could, as the typhoon swept across towns with devastating force. By evening, entire villages were flattened, leaving survivors to face the sheer scale of loss and destruction. Estimates would later claim around 50,000 lives lost, making this one of the deadliest natural disasters in Chinese history. As nature wreaked havoc in China, a different kind of creative revolution began in America, the birth of a studio that would change motion pictures forever. April 30th, 1912. Carl Laemmle, a visionary in motion pictures, established the Universal Film and Manufacturing Company in the United States. Laemmle, a German-American entrepreneur, sought to revolutionize cinema by producing films that would reach audiences across the nation. Inside, film reels, cameras, and editing equipment awaited, as the studio prepared to produce moving pictures that would captivate audiences worldwide. Laemmle's vision combined business acumen with creativity, laying the foundation for one of Hollywood's most enduring film studios. Actors, directors, and technicians arrived, eager to create stories that would thrill, entertain, and innovate cinema at the dawn of Hollywood's golden era. Universal Films' creation marked the rise of a new cultural force, where stories and dreams would leap from paper to screen, enchanting audiences for generations. As the first reels were rolled, the sounds of the bustling studio came alive, immersing the world in the magic of moving pictures. March 1st, 1912. Over the skies of Missouri, Albert Berry prepared for a daring leap that would make aviation history. Strapping on his chute, Berry leapt from the plane, descending safely and recording the world's first aerial parachute jump. April 16th, 1912. Harriet Quimby became the first woman to fly an airplane across the English Channel, proving that the skies had no gender. She soared over the channel, determination in her eyes, landing safely in France and inspiring generations of female aviators. On March 27, 1912, First Lady Helen Taft and the Japanese ambassador's wife planted the first Yoshino cherry trees along Washington's Potomac shore. These trees, a gift from Tokyo, would bloom every spring, symbolizing friendship between nations for generations to come. Born on June 23, 1912, Alan Turing would grow to become the father of computer science, a British mathematician and codebreaker who famously helped crack the Enigma cipher during World War II. Born on March 23, 1912, Wernher von Braun became a pioneering German-born rocket engineer, leading the U.S. space program and helping develop the Saturn V rocket that would send humans to the moon. Born on April 15, 1912, Kim Il-sung would later become the founder and first leader of North Korea, establishing the nation's communist regime. Clara Barton, who passed away on April 12, 1912, was an American nurse and humanitarian, best known as the founder of the American Red Cross. Emperor Meiji of Japan, who died on July 30, 1912, presided over a transformative era, guiding Japan from feudal isolation to rapid modernization and emergence as a world power. Irish author Bram Stoker, who died on April 20, 1912, created the iconic Gothic novel Dracula, leaving a lasting mark on horror literature worldwide. If you enjoyed this journey through 1912's pivotal moments, don't forget to like and comment below. We love hearing which story fascinated you the most. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's turning points, and hit the bell so you never miss a story from the past. If you missed our 1911 episode, click the card above to catch the last year's incredible stories. From revolutions to inventions that shaped the 20th century. From the skies over Missouri to the shores of China, 1912 was a year of courage, innovation, and unforgettable stories. Thank you for traveling back with us. Until next time, keep exploring history.